everyone. Today in this video I'm going to talk about all things fertilizer. So many of you asked me a question what I do with my roses, how I fertilize them, and today I'm going to talk about fertilizers which I use in my garden to keep my roses happy and healthy. So the first question which I have to ask myself, why do we need to fertilize our roses after their big time of bloom at the beginning of June in our area? Well, the answer is we want to keep our rose healthy. We want to keep our roses producing new shoots, because when rose just finish its biggest bloom in June, then what the rose does, it focuses on producing basal shoots, which are coming from the bottom of, from the base of the shrub. And those shoots are valuable because they are going to be the next year's growth. They are the ones which will support the growth of the plant next year and years to come. It's a fact that roses do lose stems through winter, through damage, through deer damage, through frost damage, and just because of old age. And these new shoots will help the rose to keep living, to produce flowers and delight us in our garden. So here I will show you our rose, which is right here. Come with me and I will look at the bottom with you, at the bottom of the rose, and I will show you what is going on down there. So this is a big shrub, the generous gardener. It is clearly tired right now. It had a big flush of blooms. As you can see, some of them are still blooming, but they are almost finished. You see, the petals are falling down. And this bush is ready to conserve energy and start creating new shoots, which are already forming at the base here. Come and I will show you. Just look here at the bottom. You see this little happy fellow coming in here? He is the one to carry the show, to keep living. He's a little fellow, but he's very valuable. And now look at this guy. Look at this big stem here. You see this damage appearing here? This stem is it's an original stem of the rose 7 years ago when I planted the rose. And look, it's getting older and damaged. So in case that stem has to be cut out, rose has to have healthy new shoots to carry the show for us in our gardens. Now I'm going to talk all things fertilizer, and the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to persuade you to use only natural fertilizers on your roses, and this is why. When you go to the Home Depot, you see the whole big shelf full of different fertilizers, and they're all persuasive and very attractive, and they're promising you sky and heaven. The reason why this soil is so healthy and this rose is so healthy is because this bush, Lady of Shalott, never had anything artificial put in that soil. When you see that bush is sick, you don't look only at the top of the bush. You focus at the bottom, what's going on at the root system, at the root ball of the soil. And when you start to put artificial fertilizers into soil, those artificial fertilizers actually kill soil. They compact it, they change the acidity of the soil. Worms don't like it, and worms are such a powerhouse of our soil. They bore through soil, they work the soil up, they make soil pliable and fluffy. There is a huge ecosystem going around the bowl of the root bowl of the rose, and there are a lot of fungi living there. They can survive in more acidic soil because artificial fertilizers change the acidity. They make soil more acidic. And they leach out very quickly, they don't stay in the soil, your plant becomes dependent on you. There are all sorts of things going on wrong with artificial fertilizers, so please, only natural ones. What I do in spring with this bush, I put a lot of decomposed cow manure here. We can easily buy it in our Home Depot stores. And you can also do compost or anything. So I just lay it on top, a nice little, maybe 3 inches on top of this root where rose grows. That's what I do in spring before I do the first big fertilizer feeding. So worms, what worms do, they go in and they take all that goodness into the soil. Soil becomes rich with the nutrients and microelements. There are a lot of healthy fungi living in the soil, and the root system of your rose is very healthy. Now keep in mind that all sorts of organisms produce wonderful hormones and wonderful antibiotics, which actually help your rose to stay healthy, help your rose fight diseases and all sorts of parasites. And as a result, when the soil is healthy, your plant is going to continue living well year after year. Plus, it's going to be more drought tolerant with all that natural fertilizers. Artificial fertilizers makes this plant depend on you. You always have to attend to its needs. Plant is not as drought tolerant, not as disease resistant, not as fungi resistant. So I hope I persuaded you to use natural fertilizers only, as this rose is doing. This rose never got anything but natural stuff into it. And I can guarantee that this soil has a lot of healthy wormies crawling around, making this soil very healthy. So now, how I do the fertilization of the rose. It's very easy, very quick. Once you make the decision that you're going to go natural, the choice of fertilizers is big, but I really, if I can't find one fertilizer, I easily switch to another. It's not a big deal if this particular fertilizer is not available. Here we have this one and this one. They are very easy to use. What I do, here I have a cup. This measure is 1 cup. And usually you can read the instructions on the package. Here, the Job's Organic Fertilizer Company says that you have to use 1.5 cup per, measure the diameter of your bush, and use, I believe, 1.5 cup for every foot of plant spread. So if you have a spread of, here I have 2 shrubs. So I have a spread of good 4 feet. I'm not going to use so much fertilizer because I don't have the space. This space is being shared with boxwoods. As you can see, I planted different, the hedge of boxwoods here. They're small, but they will become bigger and they will create a nice little hedge which will cover the bare root of my beautiful Lady of Shalott rose. So I am going to use a little bit less of fertilizer because I know that the earth here is so good. So I'm not going to use a lot, and I'm not going to dig the dirt a lot. So I will just scratch it, pile it in, cover it. It's very easy to do. We'll go on another side. And don't worry, rose will find its nutrients. This fertilizer doesn't burn the shoots, so I don't worry too much if I am going to put it in one place, a lot of it. I just do it from every side. And eventually, this fertilizer will make it into the root system of the plant. Will slowly start dissolving, and see, I will do this. And rose will benefit from it. And our roses are all set. Now, very important thing to do is to water our roses very well, soak them in, and let them enjoy all this good food. And they will start creating nice shoots. Now look at this. There's already one coming up. Come here. Look at this. There is already one shoot is coming up. You see? Now what we are doing, I'm going to water our rose very well. Now, as you can see, I'm not watering rose from the top. This is for people who don't know. We don't want to get our rose wet, especially during the second part of the day, because This way rose is going to be susceptible to all sorts of diseases, and we don't want that to happen. Now, somebody asked me a question. What happens if you come in spring and you know you won't be able to take care of this rose, or any roses in your garden, or your garden at all, because for whatever reason, kids, travel, illness, you name it. I had kids one after another, and I knew it. I wouldn't be able to take care of the roses at all. So what I did, I didn't feed them in spring. So when you don't feed the rose at all, you do nothing to it, and you don't really water it very well, rose gets a point. This way, you're not going to run into mistakes that you fed your rose and then you don't give her water. And then rose has all sorts of diseases. Rose bush gets stressed out. Rose bush starts to have dieback and all sorts of attacks of bugs and fungus and whatnot. So if you know that here is the year you can't take care of your rose, you leave it alone. And rose will create much less flowers. It will be tougher, smaller. It will survive through the drought. It wouldn't be beautiful, handsome shrub, which you usually as you have. But it will survive. It wouldn't have any diseases and whatnots, because it will understand that there's no food and the year is tough. And then next year, you can continue taking care after your rose as you always do. I hope you found this information helpful. Please do subscribe to my channel. It will help me to create more videos for you. I'm happy to share the knowledge I have, and I hope this video will help you to grow your roses in your gardens better. Happy gardening. I will see you next time.